A few years ago, before I had this glorious beard, I made a video about creating a rectangular mortise with a round Forstner bit, and it made a lot of folks really angry. And here we are 3 years and 1.25 million views later, and I'm still getting hate over this. Why? What was so controversial about my process? Well, I'm going to show you again, including several really clever tips that will help you do some really cool stuff with Forstner bits beyond just creating square holes. Watch carefully, and at the end, you can tell me if I went too far or if the internet is just overreacting again. Now, for those who are new here, in woodworking, a square hole is called a mortise, and it's half of the strongest joint in the craft, the mortise and tenon joint. If you want to build furniture that will last, you have to know how to make square holes, and perhaps the simplest way to do that is with a round Forstner bit. We're going to do this quick and easy with just some basic tools. So let's imagine that you want to connect this piece of wood with this other one at 90 degrees. So I'll use a pencil mark to mark the width of my connecting workpiece on the edge of the opposite one. Of course, I don't want my tenon to be the full width of the connecting board. That would be just crazy. So I'll come in about a 1/2 inch on each side of my mortise. That'll be its length. The width is determined by the Forstner bit itself, so I'm only going to need one layout line for that, right down the center. A quick way to find center is to angle your rule so you have an inch mark on each edge, in this case the 1 and the 3. The position of the 2 mark is the exact center of that edge. Having marked that, I can carry the line the full width of my mortise with the end of a combination square. Now I could just use a pencil line as my guide, but here's another trick that'll really help you bore holes accurately with Forstner bits. I'm using an awl to create a shallow groove over my center line. Now the tip of my Forstner bit can slip into that groove, and I will always be drilling right on the line. As I said, the width of the mortise is determined by the Forstner bit I use. I'm fortunate enough to have a full set of beautiful Forstner bits. These are made by a company in Europe called Famag. They've been around since 1865. Great company, great bits. I highly recommend you at least try one of them. Maybe the 3/4 inch, because that's a great size for mortising 1.5 inch thick material like this. You're never going to go back to your cheap bits again. I'll put a link below this video if you want to check them out. Now I'm using a piece of tape to mark the depth of my mortise on the shaft of my Forstner bit. Then I place the point in that center groove, and I position it so that the edge of the bit is just beside the layout line on one of the mortise's ends. Don't overshoot it like I did here. I like a variable speed drill so I can spin the bit slowly. Good bits cut really fast, and there's no need to go nuts here. I stop when my tape begins brushing the top of the workpiece. Then I move to the other end of the mortise. Be sure to hold the drill as straight as possible. I find it easier to get the workpiece close to me so I can look straight down from above the drill. Just don't get so close that you snag loose clothing. Aprons are good for that. If I'm boring a particularly deep hole, I might pull back up every now and then so the chips can clear. That'll help keep the bit cool so it'll stay sharp longer, and it prevents it from getting stuck inside the hole. Now that the 2 ends are finished, I can use overlapping holes to remove the remaining waste in the center. As long as the point of the bit finds a place in the wood, the guide rim doesn't have to be fully engaged. With the bulk of the waste bored out, I can turn my row of circles into a single square. There's no need to do this all in a single chop. Pare it back a little bit at a time and concentrate on keeping your chisel straight up and down as you did with your drill. Here's another tip that'll help with that. Try clamping a piece of wood with a square edge right on your pencil line. You can then use that to support and guide your chisel straight downward. Another way to gauge how square the sides of the mortise will be is to take note of the hollow marks left by the round Forstner bit. When those are all shaved away, the sides should be relatively straight. Now that you have a mortise, you can work on cutting a tenon that'll fit inside. It's better to create the mortise first because it's far easier to make a tenon smaller until it fits in the square hole than it is to make the hole larger until it fits around the tenon. If you need help with the tenon, I have some videos about that, which I'll link to below this one. Now, for those of you who lost their minds when I pulled out a chisel, In my opinion, cleaning this up with the chisel doesn't change the fact that the bulk of the work was still done with the Forstner bit. Calling these Forstner bit mortises differentiates them from other methods that use chisels alone or hollow chisel machines. Yes, it took more than just the Forstner bit to make it. It also took a square and a pencil and a workbench, but it was the Forstner bit that defined the method, and that's why we call them Forstner bit mortises. It's like saying, I'm going to make a bookshelf with my table saw. Nobody freaks out when they see me using a power drill too, because the table saw was the primary tool and it was what defined that process. I know some of you are still going to rage and say I tricked you. I get that, but you got to learn some things in this video that are going to help make you a better woodworker when you're using Forstner bits, not just for mortises. So you're welcome. Now check this out. I don't mean to scare you, but your ears are going to shrivel up and fall off if you don't wear hearing protection. I've seen the signs. It's not pretty. Is that what you want? Gaping, waxy holes on the sides of your head that hear nothing but endless ringing day and night until you wish for the sweet release of death? Look at my ears. They are glorious. Did you hear that? I did, because my hearing's perfect. And that didn't happen by chance. For 10 years, I've been wearing IsoTunes Bluetooth hearing protection. I wear them while I'm working in the shop, when I'm working in the yard, or anywhere that's noisy. And I don't just wear them to block out the sounds I don't want to hear. I also wear them to listen to music or audiobooks, podcasts, ocean sounds while I drift off to sleep. That way, if I do have to jump up to make one quick cut, I'll automatically be protected. I also like that they come from a small family business in Indiana. Here's the IsoTunes team. Look at their faces. Have you ever seen a healthier group of ears in your life? That's why I've recommended IsoTunes for the last decade. So stop putting it off. Use my discount code to save yourself some money and to save your hearing before it's